Hello and welcome to the Yanagi Observer. My name is Steve Gearhart. Welcome to my YouTube channel, such as it is. Today I'm going to actually talk about an anime review. I know I haven't talked about one of those in a little while. So we're going to start right off and we're going to talk about a relatively new anime, at least to me. Came out in about 2015, ran for 2 years, 2015 to 2016, and it was called Gate. So here's the review. So by the way, I just wanted to let you all know that the mochi that I made was actually pretty good. I know you couldn't taste it online because it's online, but it was good, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Anyway, let's get right into the review of Gate. As I said before, it's anime. The anime itself came out in 2015, ran through 2 seasons, ran through 2016. And it has a little bit of a cult following, but it's not really that popular. I think it's underrated. Is it the greatest anime out there? No, but I think it's worth watching, particularly because of how it came about. So there's this guy, Takumi Yane, who is the author of Gate. Now you hear me say author. Usually animes come from either a studio, right out of a studio, or they generally come from some type of popular manga. Not this one. This one was originally a web novel, and it was picked up by Arcadia, and they decided to take and serialize it. So the original story went over 2 volumes, and on the 3rd volume, Arcadia made it into 3 separate, what's called light novels. And light novels are usually around 200 pages or so, barely technically a novel. And that was to make it easier reading for young adults. So this anime came from a book, and that's kind of unusual for a lot of anime to come from. Usually, like I said, they come from manga or straight out of the studio. And also the author, Yane, I think that's how it's pronounced, actually. He's interesting too in that he is an actual member of the was an actual member of the Japanese Self-Defense Force, the JSDF. Now, for those of you who may not know this, but Japan for a very long time was allowed only a certain size military just for its own defense because of World War II. And as such, the people who do go into the military tend to be a little bit nationalistic. So they're really raw Japan, really raw Army, Navy, that kind of thing. And so that's another thing that makes this anime a little bit unusual, in that the protagonist is in his mid to late 20s. He is a member of the Japanese Self-Defense Force, the JSDF. He is I believe, a sergeant at the beginning of the anime, and he is, that's his job. That's his actual job. It's not just like he's in the reserves or anything like that. That is his character's job. And the character, basically the story of Gate is very simple. In a fantasy world of elves and magic users and dragons and creatures and things like that, this particular person, Hardy, creates a gate linking that world to our Earth, and the gate appears in downtown Tokyo. And the reason for that is kind of a power play by the emperor of this fantasy world, and he's kind of tricking people into invading this other dimension, Earth, with him. And so the first the first episode of the anime shows our hero, who is really also an older otaku. It shows him actually trying to get to a convention, and all hell breaks loose. Suddenly this gate appears, and men with lances riding dragons are swooping out, and they're killing people and all this stuff. And usually the protagonist is some like teenager boy or girl with a special power or anything or something of that nature, and they kind of come to terms with how to fight the bad guys. Well, in this story, it's mass chaos. People are getting killed, and this otaku, who happens to be in a JSDF, reverts to training and starts killing people. and the episode ends with him saving a lot of people. And as such, because the gate opened up, the Japanese army decided to send a contingent of the JSDF with him in it to this fantasy world. And it's kind of interesting because even though I kind of portray this as bloody and bleak and whatever, it's actually kind of funny. The main character himself is kind of lazy. He's he just kind of just coasts through the day. He has no real interest in rising in the ranks in the JSDF or anything like that, because his main goal is to be able to attend as many conventions as he possibly can. So anytime he gets promoted, he thinks it's a hindrance because it means more work. More work keeps him away from doing what he wants to do, which is to read about fantasy worlds and watch anime about fantasy worlds and go to things like Otaku. So he's drafted into this. He's actually made a lieutenant. He gets his own unit of sort of like-minded people. Some of the guys in there are very like-minded. Like, for example, his driver for his Jeep is really into cat girls, like absurdly so, almost creepily so. His own sergeant, now that he's lieutenant, it turns out to be a very knowledgeable person when it comes to kaiju. So when they first see a dragon for the first time, this dude, this big burly sergeant, just like squeals almost like a squirrel girl, and he's just like, his dreams come true. He sees a real life kaiju. So you kind of get an idea that is kind of funny. Now, this is something of a harem anime. There are 3 women in the enchanted world. One is a elf who's a couple hundred years old, and another one is sort of a gothly kind of looking girl, but she's a priestess who's about to become a goddess of war and death. And the last one is a girl who is a magic user, and she's actually 15 years old. And of course, they all look like they're 15 years old. Even the girl who's in the gothly, who's kind of weird, but in a weird way. Think fan service, all right? Like there's an entire episode where she sits on our hero's lap and kind of enjoys it a little bit too much. Anyway, but the story is kind of interesting in that it's very pro JSDF. You don't get that a lot in anime. Usually the JSDF are the bad guys, or they kind of like the people you don't want to like, but in the end they come on the side of the good guys and help out, if you know what I mean. In this, they are the heroes. The JSDF is important. They're not the bad guys. They're actually the good guys, and that's unusual. And the other part of this that's unusual is that this is very pro Japan. This is very pro, like the whole reason why they're there is to not only protect Japan from further attacks, but also to see how this world can be used by the Japanese, how it can benefit the Japanese people. And as the story goes along, you come to find out that the people in the Enchanted World are using the Japanese to their own ends, creating wars, alliances, destroying enemies, things like that, because of course the Japanese have technological warfare, and the Enchanted World has swords that are not magical. They are just armor. Well, except for Rory's, that's the gothly girl who has superhuman strength and has this huge battle axe that she kills people with. And it's just kind of an interesting, different kind of a story. It's not a unique story, it's just an uncommon one. And the way that it's presented is very uncommon. And I think it doesn't get a lot of love, as much love as it should. It's kind of like Trigun in that there's a certain audience for it that really enjoys it, like myself, just because it's different. And most other people are kind of like, you can take it or leave it. There's no actual hate for it, but people kind of get uncomfortable with the fact that this is very, raw Japan, raw Japanese army, raw Japanese Air Force, and things like that. So it kind of, you get a little bit of that, and it is a little bit distracting, and it can be disconcerting, because after a while you're just like going, okay, are we seeing a replay of World War II and a justification of World War II? The answer is no. But the bad guys are, of course, the people who are in the Enchanted Realm trying to use the Japanese to their own ends, and on Earth, the bad guys are all the other countries who are jealous of Japan, having this portal to a brand new, untapped world of resources, and they want in on it. And of course, who are the bad guys? Americans. Go figure. Anyway, there's a lot of really humorous stories that go along with it. And some of this is pretty serious. People do die, people get killed. But like I said, there's funny stories in this. And like, for example, when the girls come to Earth, and pretty much everyone falls in love with them. They become instant idols. And so our hero has to kind of like make sure the other otaku don't actually nab them, or other governments nab them and hold them hostage because they're so popular. And so it's just an unusual anime, and it just shows, and it's kind of realistic in terms of showing how a technologically advanced civilization would go to war with one that is not, even if it's magical, like they have dragons and stuff like that. It's very one-sided. I mean, it is very one-sided. There's no close battles. The only time that you have close battles is when you're actually talking about small units against large armies of the enchanted world. Only then do you kind of get like going, oh, are they going to make it or not? But when it's army on army, the Japanese, hands down, win all the time because mortars, tanks, aircraft, helicopters, machine guns, rifles, just better tactics, the whole 9 yards. In fact, there's one entire episode of these enemies of the Emperor of the Enchanted World smashing themselves against a fortified position, and of the JSDF, and the battle kind of ends with just one guy laughing because there's just like he realizes there's just no hope against these people. So is this anime worth your time? If you want to watch something different, and if you want to watch something out of your comfort zone, if it's something that maybe you're just maybe you're tired of Sailor Moon, maybe you're tired of Evangelion or Mecha or things like that, and you kind of want to see something a little bit more grounded. I know it's kind of weird saying grounded with a storyline that has to do with an enchanted world, but trust me, you'll see what I mean. Then yes, this is worth your time. Take a look at it. If you claim to be a purveyor of anime and you like to watch a whole bunch of different anime out there, definitely watch it. If not, just if for no other reason than just have a box checked. I am curious to read the novels themselves. I'm not sure if they're in print. I know that they're no longer online. And I would tell you that if you are big into fan service, you'll get your wish. As always, thank you so much from my heart for watching. It's always fun making these videos. I don't make a whole lot of money. Actually, I don't make any money out of this. This is a labor of love, and as such, if you like this video, please go down below and like it. If you happen to like what I do, please by all means subscribe. We're trying to get over 100 and keep it over 100 for a little while, and if that happens, everyone gets a digital taco, such as it is. Anyway, but seriously, thank you very much for watching and putting up with videos like the Moki video. And my name is Steve Gerhardt. This is the Otaku Observer, and I will see you guys next week.